Domination by the Dogs. Jonesy, we appreciate it. NC State, Mississippi State in the on-deck circle. Will Rogers, 370 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in that big comeback against Louisiana Tech last week. Dogs and Wolfpack coming your way here on ESPN2 in under 10 minutes.
ESPN welcomes you to the following presentation of the Southeastern Conference.
You're watching college football on ESPN, presented by Sonos. Viva Stark Vegas. The scene in Starkville just a little before kickoff. The fans are back, they're loud, and the cowbells bring us into Davis Wade Stadium. ACC meets SEC on a Saturday night. It's NC State and Mississippi State. Good evening. Anish Shroff alongside Michael. Isn't this sound beautiful?
We got fire, we got football. It feels like we're back, Anish.
Well, listen, the early season games, especially these non-conference games, they shape conference perception. For the SEC, things went great last week. Georgia beat Clemson. Alabama thumped Miami. For the ACC, things did not go so well. And NC State comes to Starkville carrying the flag for the conference.
Yeah, you can throw North Carolina in the mix on that as well. And so this NC State team, a veteran team, a squad with a lot of guys back from last year, now walks in with a lot to prove in a great environment here in Starkville.
Yeah, and one of the challenges for NC State will be getting its offense going with this atmosphere. But if their run game was anything like it was last week, they're in good shape.
Bam Knight and Ricky Person going at it. And they always say, if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. If you've got 2 backs like this, it makes everyone's life easier. It takes hits off these guys early in the game. It keeps legs fresh so that when you're late in the game, late in the 4th quarter, you get a great push from a group that leads this team.
Both went over 100 yards last week in a shutout of USF, and NC State ran for almost 300 on the ground. Different story for Mississippi State. Some struggles against Louisiana Tech last week. Down 20 in the 4th quarter. They still managed to pull off the biggest comeback in school history.
And if you're a coaching staff, every coaching staff coming off week 1, you're looking for what you can pull. And for this team, for Mike Leach and the staff, they can show their team, listen, we made mistakes early. We were out of position. We gave up big plays, but we kept believing. And Will Rogers helped orchestrate this offense, helped bring them back. When their feet were held to the flames, they responded and they came out on the other side with a win that can give you a lot of positive things to build off of going here now to week 2.
Rogers especially, the second-year quarterback, perfect in that 4th quarter when Mississippi State scored the final 21 points of the game. The challenge tonight for NC State will be handling this atmosphere. We'll tell you how they plan to do that when we come back. From Starkville, Mississippi, it's the SEC on ESPN. Anish Shroff, Mike Golick Jr., Taylor McGregor down on the field. And Taylor for NC State, first real road game in a couple of years.
Anish, they are about to get the full experience. You know, when you come to Mississippi State, it is going to be loud, and you're going to hear this. Lots of cowbells. NC State has been practicing indoor all week long, cranking up the sound to try to make it as loud as possible to prepare for this moment. And then yesterday, offensive coordinator Tim Beck took it to an even deeper level when his quarterbacks were taking their weekly written test. He was banging cowbells in their ear, turning out the lights to prepare for a night game and try to distract them as much as possible. He feels like they responded really well, but he knows this offensive line going to have a really hard time hearing anything, and so the chances of them audibly changing a play on the line of scrimmage not going to happen. Pay attention to the way that they utilize timeouts.
Leads within the electric return man. Busted open into the Mississippi twilight. Touchdown, Bulldogs. It was Griffin's 70-yard kick return last week that ignited the comeback. He starts the party tonight.
He starts the party, Anish, and what we just talked about there with Taylor, coming in and dealing with a hostile road environment, just got that much tougher.
7-0 Mississippi State before you had a chance to blink.
And a couple of great broken tackles in the midst of this. Breaking through the initial wave here, but then you see shrugging off arm tackles, making the kicker miss. And then once he found daylight, pulled away and knew what time it was. Let those cowbells ring out early here, and boy, you want to talk about a way to welcome the fans back in. A roller coaster of emotion last week. You start them off at the high point. Opening kickoff touchdown here.
Griffin last year, the MVP of the Armed Forces Bowl, and did his work on special teams. 35 yards of return in that game for the Bulldogs. For Dave Dorn's team, they haven't played many of these Power 5 non-conference road games. Just the 4th time they're playing one in the regular season in his 9-year tenure. NC State will bring it out to the 25-yard line. Now the coaches can simulate ringing the cowbells and throwing Tootsie Rolls and markers. Can't simulate this.
As a player, I always needed this first series to really get my legs underneath me here. In an environment like this, you've been stressing all week, especially in that group up front. Over-communicate, and that starts with Devin Leary, their quarterback, making sure everyone's on the same page before you snap that ball.
He celebrated a birthday yesterday, one of the top signal callers in the ACC. And we get a flag from the get-go.
Offside, defense, number 93 by contact. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Now, this was a problem for Mississippi State last week. 12 penalties. A big emphasis for the Bulldogs. Clean it up in week 2.
Got to keep yourself out of that early hole.
1st and 5, it's Zonovan Knight. He gains the edge, stays in bounds, and a patient runner picking up a first down close to the 40-yard line. NC State told us getting to the perimeter a big part of the game plan today.
Well, and if you've watched NC State football for the last decade, really, as Dave Doran's been here, you've seen that stretch zone, and when you're really running it well, your running backs getting to the edge like that are a great indicator.
Another penalty marker down.
Snap infraction, offense, number 50. 5-yard penalty, first down.
And so, Anish, up front right now, you're dealing with a silent cadence. You're getting the indicator from the quarterback, and then it's on the center from there. And Grant Gibson's a 2-time captain for them. They call him the mayor of Raleigh. This is a guy everyone raves about in this team. And so he's going to be able to shake this off early. The rest of this group's got to hold their water with him.
You played that position. You know it well. Leary throwing to the sideline, incomplete. Intended for their top receiver, Emeka Emezi. Impact players tonight brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
We're going to look at a couple of important names here. We talked about this running back room that's obviously so dynamic for this team. But you just mentioned Emeka Emezi, the consistent force at receiver here. And then Akeem Ekwonu, the load at left tackle. They're going to be running right down State Street with him leading the charge.
Empty set, Knight split wide. Leary steps up in the pocket. He'll run and brings it out to the 42-yard line. It sets up 3rd and 7. Aaron Brule, the junior from New Orleans, makes the tackle. And now the Cowbells on 3rd down.
And you see them upping the tempo, trying to get this chaotic Mississippi State defense to maybe make a mistake.
Taylor mentioned it's hard to change the play with this noise. Larry moves the pocket, looking downfield. Nobody open, misses the check down to Penix, and it's 4th down.
And you saw the importance there, Anish, of getting up to the line quick, snapping the ball early, because if you want to change the plays, you got to give yourself plenty of clock. But that Mississippi State defense managed to hold up. They're a kitchen sink defense, Anish. They're going to throw everything at you as an offense and see what sticks. And that time, able to force NC State into a punt.
Trenton Gill, highest career punting average of any punter in NC State history, will kick it away. And Jaden Wally waits at his own 11-yard line. Wally lets this one bounce, fields it on a bounce, and gobbled up shy of the 25-yard line. We get a look at quarterback Will Rogers and this air raid Mississippi State offense when we come back. Will Rogers, the second-year quarterback at Mississippi State, played at Brandon High School for his dad, same high school Gardner Minshew went to. He wears number 2. That's because he's a big fan of Derek Jeter, the newly minted Hall of Famer. And last week against Louisiana Tech, instrumental in the comeback, 10 for 10 in the 4th quarter.
They need him to be the ultimate distributor in this offense. The air raid, time and space. It was once described to me as the triple option meets passing, and he's the quarterback they need to work.
A 2-back set to start. Dylan Johnson and Woody Marks. Johnson gets the call, and into the embrace of Drake Thomas. Thomas, Isaiah Moore, and Peyton Wilson, the 3 primary linebackers for NC State, the strength of that defense.
The absolute heartbeat, and Drake Thomas jumps off every bit of film you watch for this team. He is fiery, he is downhill and fast, which is the challenge for this linebacker group. Can you be patient against this offense?
Rogers to throw on 2nd down. Underneath, it's caught by Makai Polk. The Cal transfer had 10 catches last week. Thomas again to stop. It brings up 3rd down, and that's important for NC State. They said, we'll give up 4 or 5 yards. We have to keep the ball in front of us, and we cannot allow yards after catch.
They've got to come downhill and hit them hard when they've got opportunities here. This was, in Mississippi State, one of 8 teams last year in Power 5 with over 1,500 yards after the catch. That's where they make their hay.
3rd and 5. NC State showing pressure. Wolfpack defensive coordinator Tony Gibson said they'll mix up coverages. And Mississippi State expecting to see a lot of zone. Rogers on the check down, incomplete, off the hand of Wally, and 3 and out go the Bulldogs.
When we talked to Tony Gibson, their defensive coordinator, he said, we've got to take chances when we have opportunities. And watch right here, you're going to see all 4 linebackers up at the line of scrimmage, and then all 3 defensive linemen bail out when they go in and blitz here. Change the pre-snap look and the post-snap look for the quarterback and get him just off balance enough to throw an errant ball.
Tucker Day to punt, and it's Thayer Thomas, the return man. Day gets it off. It lands out of bounds. And NC State will have terrific starting field position here. Dave Doran, 9 seasons at the helm now. Overhauled his staff prior to last season. They won 8 games, played in the Gator Bowl, lost to Kentucky. Outside of one win against Notre Dame in 2016, they really haven't had that big non-conference Power 5 win.
And he said, we want to be a team that consistently wins double digits around here. That's everyone's goal, and this would be a great place to start.
Screen pass. Here's a Mezzi. 5th all-time in receptions at NC State. Top 10 in receiving yards as well.
And you're seeing tempo again. Mississippi State's going to give you a ton of looks on defense. 3 down, 4 down, blitz, zone droppers. Getting them tempoed and up to the line of scrimmage is going to be huge today.
Back to the edge, it's Thayer Thomas. The receivers Carter and Mezzi holding the fort. And a first down for NC State.
NC State, a program so synonymous with offensive line play, the trenches, that even the wide receivers smell a double team and start salivating out there. That's what they're going to need on the perimeter, and it's an area of strength for this offense.
Look at you, O-lineman. You light up when the receivers get involved with the blocking game.
Warms my very, very hefty heart.
Thomas motions. Larry pumps. Now checks down. C.J. Riley. He was the fastest receiver on this team a few years ago, then tore his ACL. A sixth-year senior taking advantage of the NCAA rule that granted everybody an extra year of eligibility last year with COVID.
And we talked about that being a strength for this team. 18 returning starters, 19 if you count Leary, who we know didn't finish last season because of injury. This is a very veteran-laden team. That's what you need to walk into this environment.
Bam Knight on second down. About 3 yards shy, 3rd and 3. Pressure coming. Larry's got time. Wants a Mezzi. Back shoulder throw. He holds it in. 1st and goal, NC State.
And they're right back up to the line, ready to go.
Mississippi State late getting set. Here's Thomas on the screen. Sheds a tackler. Fights his way inside the 5, down to the 2. 2nd and goal. Staying with tempo. Another screen. Thomas again. Stopped in his tracks. 3rd and goal. Jalen Green, the Texas transfer, and Emmanuel Forbes blew it up.
An outstanding job of stepping up to the challenge on the perimeter. Forbes, who had an outstanding freshman season last year. Now, if you're this offense, we know they can run down State Street on that left-handed side, but with 3rd and 5 here, I think about getting Devin Leary on the move. A lot here on this defense they've got to worry about. Ricky Person in the backfield as well, the better pass catcher of these 2 running backs.
Now Larry goes wide. Direct snap. It's Person. Jump pass. End zone. Intercepted by Green.
NC State walks in with favorable field position on this drive, uses tempo to their advantage, and when they get down goal to go, it's a wildcat pass, intercepted in the end zone. Mississippi State will take over, up 7 when we come back.
ESPN College Football Primetime is presented by Sonos. Experience game-changing sound made easy. And in part by Pizza Hut. Order today at pizzahut.com.
A lot to get excited about early for Mississippi State fans. Tulu Griffin takes the opening kickoff back for a touchdown. And Jalen Green coming up with an interception in the end zone with NC State at the doorstep.
And when you're a road team coming into a hostile environment, you got a few opportunities early to take the crowd out of it, giving Mississippi State a lot of juice right now if you're NC State.
2nd to drive for the Bulldogs. They went 3 and out the first time, and that play went absolutely nowhere. 2nd catch for Polk, no gain.
And you can see right here shades of Tim Tebow in the Wildcat for Florida back in the day. But the decision to throw the pass into traffic right there, it was just never set up the right way. And Anish, with the way you were moving the ball, I didn't see a reason to deviate from your normal O.
Why? That's the question. You throw with Person, you get cute down near the goal line, it backfires. Rodgers to throw. Line holding up. Rodgers taking a lot of time, and he's tracked down by Peyton Wilson, the ACC's leading tackler a season ago.
Peyton Wilson in a nutshell right there. Never give up, never say die. They said in Pascalian practice, he's chasing guys 40 yards down the field. They've got the GPS tracker. He is logging unbelievable yardage. That's the kind of energy he brings.
They put him on a pitch count because he gets hurt all the time. That's part of the problem. Playing through a bit of a quad injury today. 3rd and long.
And this is where you got to start to mix it up if you're NC State on defense. We saw the pressure last time. Maybe drop back, give him some tough windows to throw to.
3-man rush. Rodgers over the middle, incomplete, wanted Heath. Malik Heath did not play last week. He was unavailable. Second season with Mississippi State. 4th and 13. Another 3 and out. So Mississippi State has the touchdown. They've got the defensive stop. Offensively, nothing so far.
Nothing so far, but looking like you're going to be set up for decent field position yet again. There's no reason to panic on the sideline. That needs to be the message if you're everyone up and down that offense.
Be a goldfish.
It's the happiest animal in the animal kingdom.
4th and 13. And Tucker Day punts it away. And that's the second one that he has shanked. And NC State will start in plus territory when we come back. Sunday Countdown returns. We had Dak and Brady Thursday, and there is Mike Leach, second season as the head coach at Mississippi State. Had a great run at Texas Tech, a great run at Wazoo. And after last week, he now owns the 3 largest comebacks at all 3 schools.
He smashes records everywhere he goes on offense. Going to need a few more today.
Ricky Person gets the call. He and Zonovan Knight both went over 100 yards last week. Part of a 300-yard rushing effort for NC State. Almost 300, 293.
We talked about it in the open, Anish, especially when you're going at the pace this offense is right now. Being able to spell these guys is invaluable.
Back to Person. The left side, the stronger part of that NC State line. Taylor.
Guys, Tim Beck loves the flexibility of this offense, but he also likes being able to coach on the sideline. He had almost a decade of OC experience when he came here to NC State, but this is the first stop where he's coached down here on the sideline. Likes to be able to look them in the eyes. He did that after that last drive, and he said good drive. They obviously didn't like the end result, but they liked the way they were moving the football.
He told us from upstairs sometimes the menu's a little too big. The paradox of choice comes into play as Person gets the call, bouncing off tacklers and tripped up at the 30-yard line by Forbes. It's 3rd down. You call the plays down on the field. He said the decisions become a little quicker.
Anyone who's ever been to a Cheesecake Factory knows exactly what he's talking about there. Big-time menus can sometimes create difficulty. We saw that down in the red zone. Keep it simple on this 3rd down. Your quarterbacks had success going to the perimeter. Hunt matchups out there. Let your wide receivers continue to get you yards after the catch.
Larry throws incomplete, too high for Porter Rooks. And it's 4th down, and we'll likely see Christopher Dunn. Dunn is the NC State career record holder for most field goals made. And for his career, inside 40, he's 46 of 50, 55 of 63 inside 50. And this one a 48-yarder. kick is no good. Twice, NC State had a short field. Their last drive ended with an interception in the end zone. This one ends with a missed field goal on the road. Hostile environment. Road games are real again. Those are two big missed opportunities.
They are. We talked about Tim Beck talking with Devin Leary on the sideline. The message has to be, you've got to be more decisive. You saw him there. Could have taken off, put them in a position where maybe you've got 4th and short and you think about running behind that big line. Don't try and do too much. That's got to be the message for a quarterback who, as much as he feels like a veteran's only started 5 games for them.
Now the saving grace so far for NC State, the defense has played well. They have forced 2 3-and-outs. Rogers gives it to Dylan Johnson, and he is tripped up behind the line of scrimmage by Corey Durden, the Florida State transfer.
And you saw Durden working the inside there, going up against Charles Cross, the left tackle. You've got big, wide splits up front for this Mississippi State offensive line. It's one of the hallmarks of Mike Leach's version of the air raid, which gives the defender a lot of room to work with and then get back upfield to affect the play.
College football tonight. Utah, BYU renew their rivalry. I guess we're not allowed to call it by what it used to be called anymore. Rogers has time. There's Johnson, erased immediately by Isaiah Moore. Well, defensively, the game plan has been on point. Not much yards after catch for Mississippi State. The tackling in space has been there for the Wolfpack.
And Isaiah Moore is the guy at the center of it all. Tony Gibson, their D coordinator, said if I went down, I think this guy could call the entire defense for us. And on 3rd down, what have we seen? Them bring zone pressure, them back off and drop 8. I'd expect them to try and heat up Will Rogers and speed up that shot clock in his head a little bit.
The Bulldogs need the 40-yard line, 3rd and 7.
You see the defense checking out of it now, going to play coverage.
Jameer Calvin in motion. Rogers' pass nearly intercepted. A dangerous throw. Drake Thomas was in the area. And another 3-and-out for Mississippi State.
And I think Drake actually got a hand on that coming around the edge. You saw that ball flutter, getting just enough and almost giving one of his buddies a chance to make a game-breaking play. You'll see coming off the edge right here, it's actually number 99, Daniel Joseph, gets around there and gets a paw.
So 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. And Day, who's had punts of 20 and 29, will kick it away again. And this time he pins NC State at the 30-yard line. Sunday night baseball Subway Series finale for the Yankees in a free fall after that 13-game win streak. Lost yesterday to the Mets. Sunday at 8 p.m., Yanks and Mets at Citi Field. And then the U.S. Open men's final on ESPN. That's at Arthur Ashe Stadium, right next to Citi Field. That starts at 4. So you have Novak Djokovic going for the Grand Slam, something no man has done since Rod Laver way back in 1969. Person devoured behind the line by Colin Duncan, the free safety.
We talked about the strength of NC State's defense being the linebacker core. You could say the same thing about these linebackers and safeties. Colin Duncan loves to be downhill, run up and hit. NC State's been running to the left heavy in the last couple of drives. They're going to need an off-speed pitch. Maybe leak Devin Leary out the backside of that, get him on the move as this defense starts to key in.
Now that is the strength of this NC State O-line, with Aquanu anchoring that left side. Messi makes the catch, stretches across the 35. A gain of 7, 3rd and 5.
And again, for Devin Leary, got to make the picture clear right here. We saw him connect down the field with Emeka Emezi. He's the guy I'd be watching on this 3rd down. Right at the top of the formation, singled up.
Thomas, the motion man. Thayer Thomas, the first down catch for NC State. His 5th reception already in this first quarter.
And a great job taking advantage of all the attention paid to Emeka Emezi. You bring Thayer Thomas in motion, you use Emezi to run a pseudo pick play there and get a great pickup for first down.
Thayer Thomas.
Emezi runs up the field, clips both defenders.
Larry to throw, has time, clean pocket, and completes his pass. Devin Carter, the 6'4" redshirt sophomore who had a big 51-yard catch last week.
This is exactly what you need. This is the spot where you can pop a run when the tempo kicks in.
We come up on a minute to play in this opening quarter. And Person for a short gain, 2nd and 9.
Using a lot of motion on this drive. Give your quarterback information against a defense that likes to do as much. Muddy the picture as Mississippi State when you spread them out sideline to sideline, similar to what Mississippi State usually likes to do on offense.
.29 Tootle, a tight end, but a converted wideout in the game for NC State. He had a touchdown last week. Bulldogs bring the pressure. Good protection. Thomas is open, close to the sticks. And 3rd and 2 coming up. The first quarter will come to an end. NC State back on the move. Their first 2 drives ended in Mississippi State territory. And still the only score of this game came on the opening kickoff. To Luke Griffin, a 100-yard return. 7-0 Mississippi State. Anish Ruff, Mike Golick Jr., Taylor McGregor with you. Saturday night in Starkville, Tulu Griffin's kick return to open the game, the only scoring. NC State dominating the stat sheet, trailing on the scoreboard. On 3rd down, and Person engulfed. Sherman Timms led the charge. It's 4th down for NC State. A decision now from inside the 40 for Dave Doran.
And I think you got to go for it. You're in no man's land here. Your quarterback's been dealing an outstanding job by Sherman Timms, understanding what their tendencies are. They're going to run left. They want to make it obvious. That time he knifes underneath.
And we get a penalty marker down. This could be against the Bulldogs.
Offside. Defense number 3 jumped into the neutral zone. There was a reaction by the offensive line. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
That's Aaron Brule, and now 4th and 5 becomes 4th and short. Remember, this was a Mississippi State team last week. Discipline was an issue. 12 penalties, 4 turnovers, and NC State was pretty honest about that.
Penalty and a 1st down.
All right, so the penalty does result in a 1st down. NC State made it clear they wanted to challenge their opponent's discipline tonight.
And you have to take that personally if you're Mississippi State. Someone walking into your stadium using the snap count as a weapon against your defense at home. That's got to matter to you. That's got to feel as bad as it looks to the rest of us right here if you're on that defense, to have the self-control to go ahead and make sure that a road team cannot do that to you.
So a new set of downs. Person, the running back, off the right hip of Devin Leary. Leary will throw. And Penix upended by Martin Emerson. Emerson last year tied for 1st in the SEC in PBUs. The junior out of Pensacola, Florida.
Tell you one thing they took personally, those wide receivers blocking them on those opening drives here, coming up and setting a physical tone for this defense.
Emerson and Emmanuel Forbes on the other side. One of the best cornerback duos, not just in the SEC, but nationally.
Yeah, if you want someone to score on defense for you, Emmanuel Forbes is your man.
Up the middle. And Person got a little push there by Dylan McMahon, the right guard. Another third down now for NC State.
Great pickup, great chunk yardage there. You're in 4-down territory, so the runs are on the table. This time, they went back with a counter. Split the defense in half, get holes when you've got guys running upfield. But I think you're in 4-down territory right here. You've got to set a tone, and that tone is more cowbell.
There's the pressure on the slant, incomplete through the hands of Carter. It's 4th down. And the kicking team comes on.
NC State's been dominant on both sides of the balls between the 20s, but this right now has to be points on the board for them. Your defense has been standing on its head for you, NC State sideline. You cannot give Mississippi State this many chances to stay out in front of this game.
Dunn missed from 48. This is from 45. And Christopher Dunn gets NC State on the board. A 45-yard field goal for Dunn. 7-3, 12:46 to go, first half. Mississippi State to receive after an NC State field goal. Tulu Griffin has a 100-yard kick return for a touchdown in this game. Mike Leach, second season in Starkville, bringing the air raid offense. Young team last year that endured growing pains. We all remember the opener against LSU when Mississippi State put up zany numbers. And then for a month after, the offense turned into D.B. Cooper. 3 touchdowns offensively in a 4-game span. Year 2, a real off season. Some of these younger players now have gotten their feet wet, not just in games like this, but SEC games.
And year 2 in Mike Leach's offense is generally a time when guys jump. You talk to guys like Wes Welker that are veteran receivers in an offense like this. It takes time to get the feel for these routes down that give receivers a lot of options, that give them a lot of responsibility, responding to man, sitting down in space if you've got zone. That feel between quarterback and receiver, a huge part of the relationship that just takes time to grow.
LSU played a lot of man in the opener. Mississippi State went wild. Then they saw zone pretty much the rest of the way. Jaden Wally, a gain of 9 as we check in with Taylor.
Jameer Calvin, a huge reason that this offense has tried to take a step forward because he was a transfer from Washington State. He ran the air raid under Coach Leach. He came in here and he told everybody, you have to learn the quarterback tendencies. That's your best friend. He also has really helped them get open and learn how to sit in your zone. He said that's another key in this air raid offense.
Calvin in the slot, top of your screen, 2nd and 1. Rogers finds a soft spot. It's Caleb ducking his first catch as a Bulldog. A flag down back at the 32.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Number 6 was on the line of scrimmage and was covered up. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
And we talk about penalties, Anish. Got to have 4 guys back off the ball in the backfield. These are the little mistakes as your offense is starting to get some rhythm that can undercut drives. You see right here at the top of the screen, both guys, that term covered up just meaning you've got 8 guys on the line of scrimmage when you can only have 7, make him ineligible like he would be on the end of the line of scrimmage.
That's usually on the receiver. It means you lined up wrong. On 2nd and 6, quick release. And a first down for Wally World. Last year, Jaden Wally rewrote the receiving record book for Mississippi State freshmen, set the single-season record for receptions by a freshman, and broke a 43-year-old freshman record for receiving yards.
They broke 21 passing or receiving records in year 1 of this offense. Remarkable.
That was the first down of the game, and Woody Marks sneaks ahead for a couple. 3 touchdowns in the opener against Louisiana Tech. Had 9 catches out of the backfield, and if you're a running back in this offense, that's something you have to be able to do.
He did have a career-high 12 carries last week in this offense. I know everyone thinks Mike Leach is never going to run it, but if you get obvious box looks where it's 4 guys in there, 5 and the guys hanging outside a little bit, he's going to give these linemen a chance to tee off. And throwing the ball a NCAA leading almost 50 times a game last year, those guys are relishing that chance.
All the Leach disciples these days, Neil Brown, Dana Holgerson, Lincoln Riley, joke about, hey, we're probably running the ball too much for Mike Leach's taste. As we get multiple flags, right tackle Scott Lashley flinched.
False start, offense, number 78, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Lashley, the Alabama transfer, an absolute mountain of a man, but both lines of scrimmage really having trouble holding their water right here, and it's undercutting all the positive stuff we've seen from Will Rogers.
Now, this was a team that was penalized a lot last year, already 4 today, 12 last week. Marks and Johnson both in the game. NC State flashing pressure. They'll rush 4. Rogers throws wide open. Johnson, does he hang on? He does. A first down for Mississippi State and a confidence booster for Dylan Johnson, who struggled the last week.
A confidence booster for this offense, Anish. He just gets lost in the shuffle. All the routes coming right to left across the field. The running back swing in this offense is like the dive in Navy or Army's triple option offense there. And if you don't cover it down, they're going to beat you with that first and foremost. Marks led this team in receptions last year with 60. This offense is built front to back off the running back as a pass catcher.
And Johnson last week had a couple of drops, a fumble. Picks up 15 there. Bulldogs at midfield. You see what Mississippi State has done at midfield. A patriotic theme to the Bulldogs logo today, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And we go back to 20 years ago, the first college football game that was played after the attacks here at Davis Wade, South Carolina. Mississippi State sports helping us heal.
A lot of the players on the field not even old enough to have remembered this, but the coaching staff's feeling a duty to be teachers, to let these young men understand what happened in this country, the response that we saw, and what a lot of people are still dealing with today as a result of that. Certainly, your hearts go out to everyone that was affected, and some people still very much affected.
Best looking drive of the night for Mississippi State as Marks moves the chains. Woody Marks in the offseason got bigger, stronger, faster. Credits the team nutritionist who taught him how to cook. And he was eating healthy when he went home for the summer. Brought in by Tulu Griffin.
We talked about NC State's defense, the job they've done tonight, but the offense coming up short on a lot of these drives, putting them back out in the field. You're starting to see some of those snaps add up. Mississippi State's putting this thing all over the field. They're going to use the full 53 and a third, and you're starting to see guys slip off tackles a little bit here. Let's see if Mississippi State can get someone sneaking them deep down this field, take advantage of some guys maybe getting tired.
There's the toss. It's Marks. And he is met by a swarm of Wolfpack defenders. Shaheem Battle, first one in there. It's third down.
This is, again, where you got to keep an eye on the running back swing pass. The minute you start buying in on these guys going downfield, you're probably going to get some version of the crossing routes that we've seen here, that mesh that's such a staple of the air raid, and that running back can leak out to the short side of the field here and spring loose.
Mississippi State 0 for 3 on third downs. Last week, NC State held USF to 3 of 16 on third down. Marks going to be a little shy, 4th and short.
Going back to the same play, getting down close there. Mike Leach in this offense found a look they liked up front.
And 4th down, it appears the Bulldogs will go for it. Offense looking to the sideline. Special team stays on the sideline.
And again, I'd watch the running back to the short side of the field here. It's a great passing option for this team.
Play clock down to 5. And a timeout by Will Rogers.
Timeout. Their first of the
4th
half.
and 1, Mississippi State. Ball on the Wolfpack 30 on the other side.
This studio update brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. Spencer Rattler, Acho, looking good here on the throw to Eric Gray.
Yeah, obviously a busted assignment by number 9, Kareem Taylor. That's your back. You got to stay on him.
11 of 14, buck 43, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Anish, Oklahoma up big.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Here, we had fireworks off the get-go. Tulu Griffin, 100-yard kick return touchdown. Nobody has scored a touchdown since. Mississippi State will bring the offense out on 4th and 1.
And with Mike Leach and how much he loves this play, if NC State uses this as an opportunity to get up and heat him up, watch out for the potential screen. Sneak them out the back door. We've seen them score down in the red zone with a guy like Jameer Calvin before.
Woody Marks is the running back, 9 catches last week. Rogers looks to Marks, and he is tackled for a loss. A stand by NC State. Shaheen Battle, the corner with the TFL.
We talked about the running back swing as a staple to this offense. If you lose him while you've got all this motion and you're thinking about going over the top, you've got to keep your eye on that first key. This defense, an outstanding job. Huge stop for NC State on 4th down. 7-3 Mississippi State. We'll be back.
College football on ESPN presented by Sonos, and it's the SEC on ESPN. Kenny Schroff, Mike Golick Jr., Taylor McGregor. Jr. has openly embraced his singleness, if you will. You're very public about it, and you can relate to what NC State is going through here, as they don't get much on 1st down. The Wolfpack get in the red zone. They're flirting. They're talking. It looks like a good night. Then the red zone turns into friend zone. Sorry.
No, you know what? I knew we were going to get here eventually. It's better we get this out of the way in week 2 right now. My mom's listening and horrified.
Downfield and through the hands of Carter. They missed a chance there. 3rd down and 9.
But the parallels are uncanny, and that right there was the key. NC State's got to now find a way to try and manufacture some chunk plays here. A running back wheel down the field like we saw Person catch last week against South Florida, because the dink and dunk has worked between the 20s, but they haven't found the secret yet, much like me. I'm trying, Mom, I'm trying.
We'll have to read your DMs on air next week now. 3rd and 9. Leary on the move. And has to throw it away. Give a lot of credit to this Mississippi State defensive line. Anish,
Randy Charlton, the rest of these guys getting penetration upfield. They're moving the front around on what is a big, bruising, imposing NC State offensive line. And it's muddied the picture up here for Leary as they missed the shot earlier in the drive.
Austin Williams waits at his own 25 to return the Trenton Gill punt. Play clock down to 1. Good kick. Williams inside the 20 calls for the fair catch. Mississippi State still looking for that first offensive score of the night. Years ago today, America was attacked. 9/11. It's been 20 years. Our spirit may have been shaken, it was not broken. And sports helped in the healing process, returning us to some semblance of normalcy. Maybe there's a little bit of a mirage there, but that's okay. Just a few days after the 9/11 attacks, it was a Thursday night game here at Davis Wade, South Carolina and Mississippi State. First college football game since the attacks. For Dave Doran, 9/11 rings home on a different level. His dad, Bill, was scheduled to fly from Boston to LA. He would have been on one of the 2 hijacked planes. Bill's ride never showed up. He didn't get on the flight. Dave Doran recounting that story to us yesterday as Johnson makes the catch for a short gain. He talked about the stress that he had as an assistant at Montana. His sister called him frantic. Finally, they were able to get a hold of their father, Bill, whose birthday happens to be today. And Bill is with us. He avoided tragedy, but you can only imagine how harrowing those hours must have been for the Doran family.
Terrifying for that family. We saw Gene Wojciechowski and the folks on game day did a great job talking to a lot of the coaches that were coaching through that day, that were affected by that day. But the meeting room for us went quiet. You could tell for Dave Doran, this is something that certainly never gets easier. And at that point, he's on the lucky side as we see Peyton Wilson right now, the player down for NC State.
Few guys try harder than Peyton Wilson. He's battled injuries in his career, played hurt most of last season. First team All-ACC linebacker.
Absorbs a big hit, but you don't see anything too out of the ordinary there. Mentioned surgery on both shoulders this offseason. And you certainly hope it's not that again as he walks to the sideline under his own power, but clearly in a lot of pain on that left side where you can see the shoulder brace under his pads.
He came into this game battling a bit of a quad bruise. Off-season surgery on both shoulders. You'll be hard-pressed to find a tougher player in the ACC.
This linebacker group thrives on his energy. For Isaiah Moore, for Drake Thomas in there, they're going to have to pick up the slack and continue to provide that same juice to this group, who's up against it now. Mississippi State's offense on that last drive found some of their mojo again.
Number 2, Jalen Scott checks in for Wilson. Three-man pressure. Rogers downfield into traffic. It's broken up. No flag. Calvin the Wazoo transfer the intended target. Tanner Ingle in coverage.
Tanner Ingle's a guy Tony Gibson, their defensive coordinator, singled out and said his energy on the field is great for us. Now, he had 3 targeting penalties last season, so he's a guy that can border on reckless at times. But they said this defensive group feeds off him, and plays like that when he is in control, you can see why.
Calvin a little shaken up at the end of the play. He comes off the field. 3rd and 7. We have yet to see an offensive touchdown tonight. NC State drops 8. Rogers to the air, finds Austin Williams. First down for 30. More than 40% of Williams' catches in his career have resulted in a touchdown or a first down.
And great protection here. You get drop 8, and we talked about that feel. Finds a spot in the zone, sits down. This is a smart guy. Carried a 4.0 GPA, working on his 3rd degree at Mississippi State right now.
Marks and Johnson, the running backs, both in there. Not much success on the ground today. Rogers to the air. Chased. Escaping. And throws it away wisely. Corey Durden, a Florida State transfer, in pursuit.
Even with 3 down linemen, you've got the opportunity to create pressure. Again, those big splits, 3 feet in between every offensive lineman up front for Mississippi State. And so for North Carolina State coming into this game, their goal was to get some twists, to get some stunts up front, to try and make use of all that space.
Explain to our viewers why they use those wide splits offensively.
They want to make the picture clearer for Will Rogers. You spread guys out. Now all of a sudden, if a linebacker's leaning because he's going to blitz, he's got to show it a little more because you've spread them out naturally with that group. You get angles and one-on-one run blocks. It's all to try and make this picture a little more simple for the quarterback who's directing traffic.
A dropped pass by Mekhi Polk, and it sets up 3rd and long. Rogers spreading it out today. He's completed a pass to 6 different receivers, completed 1 to 8 last week. In fact, 8 different receivers had at least 2 catches, and there is the old Will Rogers line. I've never met a man I didn't like, and that holds true.
And here, I think he's got to like something a little bit deeper. We've seen one of the other air raid staples. Get one of your slot receivers going across the field, try and attack these linebackers who are great downhill guys, but maybe not the most effective in coverage.
Rogers, and that is caught. Let's see where they spot him. It'll be awfully close. Wally the catch, and he appears to have enough. It is a first down for Mississippi State.
Just a great timing throw here by Will Rogers.
They are going to measure.
I mean, you saw it, number 13, Tyler Baker-Williams, who's a great, important player in that nickel spot on this 3-3-5 defense. Just past his outstretched arms, but he was coming back. We'll see if he gets close.
It is enough for a first down. NC State picked to finish 2nd in the Atlantic Division behind Clemson. Mississippi State picked to finish last in the absolute gauntlet. That's the SEC West. You put them in the East, middle of the pack team probably. Meanwhile, Peyton Wilson heading into the tunnel for NC State. There's Polk. Into Wolfpack territory all the way to the 42-yard line. Give him 16.
This is where it starts to get dicey for NC State's defense. You had to respect some of the rushes you saw on that last drive. You've got a 2-back set out here that's making you honor that. And now Will Rogers has started to soften the middle of this defense with some zone shots. You get another first down here into enemy territory. This is a great opportunity to fake something short, try and sneak a receiver deep down the field.
Rogers back to the air. Marks juggles it, and then punished by Isaiah Moore. And that was the MO for this NC State defensive coaching staff. They said when these receivers catch the ball, punish them.
And we've seen them sitting back in coverage a lot right now, Anish. I think NC State needs to let these guys up front pin their ears back a little bit here. Try and get one of these linebackers. Let Drake Thomas go downhill and do what he likes to do. We saw them get to Will Rogers, affect his throw before. He's gotten too comfortable back there behind this O-line.
Rogers, 16 out of 22, only 93 yards. Bulldogs only 100 yards of total offense. Dylan Johnson. Nowhere to go. Got a yard and a half, maybe. It's Isaiah Moore again on the stop. 3rd down. And Johnson's helmet comes off, so by rule, he's got to come out for one play unless Mississippi State wants to use a timeout.
So now we've seen a couple successful third down attempts for Mississippi State. They're cued in short on the running backs here. The 10th play coming up on this drive. Austin Williams in the middle of three at the top of your screen, at the top of this formation. Sure-handed guy Rogers trusts, like you said, first downs or touchdowns.
Williams, the motion man. NC State bringing pressure. Rogers looking for Polk, flag down. He's tackled immediately. The ball is incomplete.
Holding, offense, number 58. Penalties decline, fourth down.
Now that's Cameron Jones, the left guard. Mike Leach telling us this week that the O-line is his favorite position. He started off as an O-line coach, spent 10 years coaching that unit at Cal Poly, Iowa Wesleyan, Valdosta State. And although quarterbacks and receivers get all the attention in this offense, he said it starts up front on the O-line.
And it's the hardest to make the transition in this air raid as they're lining up and going to call a timeout right now. Think it over with 4th and long.
Timeout, Mississippi State.
Second timeout used by Mississippi State. This week's college football rankings brought to you by Allstate. Week 1 often leads to snap judgments, right? Well, Georgia finally gave up a score. Still beat the snot out of UAB. Alabama rolls. Ohio State. Hello, is the Pac-12. Have they risen from the dead with Oregon going to Columbus and winning the way they did?
Just remarkable for what that offense was able to do. Ohio State so much built on the identity of that defense that really struggled in the red zone to keep track of these guys. And I know you want me to talk about it. A nail-biter in South Bend against Toledo. The Irish with a last-second drive with under 2 minutes left to their tight end Michael Mayer to stave off an outstanding effort from Toledo.
You called that one well before kickoff. You said that's going to be closer than expected. Iowa now becomes a player in the Big Ten with Ohio State losing. Iowa scores a marquee win against Iowa State, a team that many see as a legitimate threat to Oklahoma in the Big 12. 4th down, 7 to go. Dylan Johnson in the backfield. Air raid set, of course, with a 4-receiver look. Trips to the field.
You're in no man's land here, Anish. I like the call.
Rogers looking for Mekhi Polk, who brings it in for a first down. NC State declined the holding penalty before the timeout, so it was 4th and 7 instead of 3rd and 17, and Mississippi State converts.
I figured they assumed, like most people would in that spot, you'd elect for the field goal, something there. But Mike Leach is the rogue player at the blackjack table. The minute you think he's going to hit on 15 against a dealer face card, he's going to stay, let it ride, and sometimes the results can vary.
Less than 2 minutes to go in this first half. 4 catches for Polk. The toss to Johnson. And upended shy of the 20-yard line. We've gotten word that Peyton Wilson has been taken for x-rays now in the locker room. That's a significant loss for NC State, leading tackler in the conference a year ago.
And a guy we talked about who's built up that stamina to fly all over the field. Now you're getting guys not nearly as used in Jalen Scott as they're looking at that shoulder. Not as used to flying around the field for this many snaps, having to cover this area of the field.
It concerns you. He had surgeries on both shoulders in the offseason. 13th play of this drive. Polk, the motion man. Rogers taking a shot downfield. Caught for a touchdown, Malik Heath. penalty by Rees is good, and a 2-score lead for the Bulldogs.
Anish, you look at this play, NC State risking it again, bringing pressure, which means you have one-on-one on the outside. And Shaheen Battle never able to get his head turned back around. An outstanding job of getting on top and stacking the receiver for Malik Heath and then getting the foot down.
This defense, coached by Zach Arnett from Mississippi State, has held NC State's experienced offense to a field goal. They've played their best once the Wolfpack have gotten inside the 40-yard line, and it's been timely plays. The touchdown to Heath, the kick return to begin the game. Kevin Connors is in the studio tonight.
And Anish, coming up on the DirecTV stream halftime report. We'll have much more on the Cyhawk series. Sam Acho is going to show us which D was more dominant in that one. Plus, speaking of D, no Kayvon Thibodeau. How in the world did Oregon go into the horseshoe and beat Ohio State? Plus, Texas A&M and Notre Dame both tested. All coming up at the half. Anish, I know your partner, his team, living dangerously the past 2 weeks.
All right, I won't lie. I could not hear a word he said with the sound in this building.
We also like to live dangerously here in the booth. As he mentioned, the Irish get the win. But NC State has lived dangerously, not capitalizing in the red zone on all these offensive trips. You had multiple drives with great starting field position, and your defense finally gave way after what had been an otherwise stellar first half for them.
Well, NC State's got 3 timeouts. They've got 109. They've been able to use tempo successfully at times tonight. They've been able to move the field and move the ball down the field. They just have not been able to punctuate enough of their drives with scores.
No, but like you said, this is a great opportunity right now. All your timeouts, a minute to go. You drill these situations all the time here. Everything is open to you right now. If you're Devin Leary, you've just got to be decisive. Get the ball out of your hands quick and allow your receivers to make plays, especially if Mississippi State gets antsy and starts to give you one-on-one coverage.
NC State gets the ball to begin the third quarter as well. To the sideline. And out of bounds, Devin Carter. Clock will stop. Second down. 5 to go. Only took a few seconds off the clock. Over the middle, Zonovan Knight. And a first down for Bam using the dive. That'll momentarily stop the clock until the ball is spotted. Pressure by the Bulldogs. Leary loads up, downfield for Emezi. Incomplete, covered well by Forbes. 2nd and 10.
We talked about Forbes, the freshman All-American, sticking with him because that time we did see a little bit of pressure from Mississippi State up front. Devin Leary had what he wanted. Vertical routes, 4 verts going for his guys. Gave him a shot.
Wolfpack have the 3 timeouts, middle of the field in play. Leary into coverage, incomplete. Wanted Carter.
Mississippi State's done a great job on the perimeter here. If you're Devin Leary, remember, you've got those 3 timeouts in your pocket. Don't be afraid to exploit a matchup in the middle of the field and be ready to bang that timeout.
Bam Knight. Met first by Colin Duncan, nothing there. And let's see if Mississippi State elects to call a timeout. They do. Let some precious seconds run off the clock. Mike Leach, you know, that bag of tricks runs deep.
We saw the 4th and 7 decision after the decline penalty by Dave Doran.
Please reset the game clock to 30 seconds.
But again, you look at that spot and say 4th and 7. You decline it, maybe get a punt, maybe get a field goal, but Mike Leach is a guy that is hard to predict.
Tomorrow, 4 Eastern on ESPN, a chance to watch history. Novak Djokovic takes on Daniil Medvedev. U.S. Open men's final. Joker looking to complete the calendar slam. Last player, men's or woman, to have a calendar slam. Steffi Graf did it in the late 80s. The last men's player, Rod Laver, back in 1969. We are in the golden age of men's tennis. We've been in that age for almost 20 years. Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, 3 of the best to ever play. Trenton Gill will punt. Austin Williams waits. They added a few seconds back, so 30 seconds to go. Gill gets it off. Williams from the 22. Cuts it up to the 30. And out of bounds at the 35. A flag down at the end of the play. And if this is against NC State, even without any timeouts, Mississippi State may have a chance for at least a long field goal.
The second guy coming over on this coverage unit. Anish, he's running towards out of bounds. There's just no need.
Personal foul, late hit out of bounds, 42 kicking team. 15-yard penalty, first down.
And we talked about the second guy in here going towards out of bounds, wrapped up. And you'll see it better. Anish, I tell you what, looking at that now a second time here, that angle, that's a pretty borderline call. He's hanging over right on the edge of that out of bounds line. You're trying to make a play at that point. I don't like that call one bit. I understand player safety is always going to be an issue. You're going to err on the side of caution in that spot. But special teams, you're making decisions going 1,000 miles an hour there. And that one to me was borderline.
Danny Blakeman flagged for the penalty. So how do you navigate this now? You're right around midfield, 21 seconds, no timeouts.
You're taking shots towards the sideline here, trying to see if you can get a big chunk on this first play here. Get a guy going out of bounds to stop the clock and get set to fire and load one up here. 21 seconds. You're trying to get yourself in range. But make sure you get towards the sideline right now. Can't afford to be tackled in the middle of the field.
Brandon Reeves missed a kick from 50-plus last week. His career long is 52. From midfield. Second down.
And this is where Will Rogers has to display what we just saw there, the intelligence to know if it's not there, cover it up, throw it out of bounds, live to fight another play.
Rogers caught and a big hit. A flag comes in back by the line of scrimmage. Tyler Baker Williams made the tackle. Calvin made the catch.
Holding, offense number 69. 10-yard penalty, second down.
Now you see hits like that, and the first thing these days that goes through your mind is targeting. No penalty on the hit. They do call holding on Quatravius Johnson, starting at right guard this week. Mike Leach told us he'd be available despite an arrest earlier this week for malicious mischief.
And this just another in a string of front 7 penalties on Mississippi State in key spots. That gain right there, you were going to be cooking. And instead you see him get that hook on the smaller rusher.
So now final seconds, and Rogers just shovels it to Woody Marks. Marks to the outside, still going, and finally taken down. The first half ends with Mississippi State on top of NC State 14-3. Georgia's beaten Clemson, Bama beat Miami. We saw Pitt get Tennessee earlier today. SEC on top of the ACC as we go to halftime. And Kevin Connors.
This halftime report is presented by DirecTV Stream.
Our game has been all Bulldogs from the jump. LaDietrich Griffin, 100-yard kickoff return. I gotta have more cowbell. 14-3, Mississippi State on top.
Life is for learning, and that doesn't stop with graduation. A great university goes far beyond campus. It allows you to see the big picture. A great university gives you tools, community, partnership, a launch pad. You don't just go to NC State University. You take us with you. NC State. Think and do.
This halftime report is presented by DirecTV Stream.
Will Rogers isn't afraid to throw the ball either. Malik Heath hauling it in. Dogs up by 11, second half on the way.
Right before my eyes, I had you to hold me down. Right before my...
College football on ESPN is presented by Sonos. And this is the SEC on ESPN. All the fans are back. They're loud, they're raucous, they're roaring. Stark Vegas at night, and Mississippi State has a 14-3 lead on NC State. Another ACC-SEC showdown. And Ishraff, Mike Olick Jr., Taylor McGregor down to the sideline. If you came here for offense in that first half, there wasn't a whole lot of offense. Both defenses dictated.
Really an incredible defensive struggle. NC State's defense holding up a lot of their end of the bargain when that offense struggled a bit at the beginning. But eventually, too many opportunities, and Will Rogers and that Mississippi State offense were able to manufacture some great shot plays down the field. Open this thing up.
The Wolfpack will begin at the 25-yard line as we take a look at our drive recap brought to you by Expedia.
And this was some of those pinpoint throws that we talked about here. Will Rogers stepping up big time. That on fourth down to keep this drive alive. An outstanding play from his wide receivers. And then you get man coverage down in the red zone. We've talked about what this offense can do when you've got one-on-one matchups. And Mike Leach had to be smiling seeing that for Malik Heath down there at a pivotal point of this game.
Almost 300 rushing yards last week against USF. Just 39 in the first half today for NC State. And they will feed Bam Knight, who gets the edge and stuffed shy of the 30. Down to Taylor.
Well, Anish, it is still really hard to hear, and that was the first thing I asked Coach Doran. Do you feel like the atmosphere is impacting his offense at all? He said, no, it's completely on us. He said, we are 2 for 9 on third down. We have to be better. We have to finish drives. But he said, credit to Mississippi State for the way that they've shut down our run game. He said, we feel like we got it going early, and then they made adjustments. And he said, here in the second half, we have to pick that back up. This run game, a huge part of this NC State offense.
They averaged better than 7 yards a rush in the opener, less than 3.5 tonight. Larry bootlegs. And it's the quarterback run. Devin Larry taken out of bounds by Cameron Young. Third down, so this is what Taylor was talking about. Can the Wolfpack be better on third downs?
And it starts with protecting up front. Mississippi State's defensive line has done a great job getting pressure even when they haven't been blitzing here. Jaden Crumity, Randy Charlton, these guys have been knifing up field.
Thayer Thomas in motion. Here's the pressure. Larry throws it up in the air, a wounded duck. And it's caught by NC State. Carter brings it in for a first down.
Let me tell you what, Anish, there's no fancy breakdown for that. That is not a ball that should have been thrown. And that is a ball they somehow managed to catch. Now, Carter's a big target here. That's a 6'4" body. You give him a chance, but throwing back across your body in the middle of the field, I think we're all taught from the time we're in Pop Warner that's a bad idea, and somehow it works out.
NC State gets a fortunate break. Bam Knight again has an opening to midfield, churning, lost the football at the end, and the Bulldogs jump on it. Perhaps a little karmic retribution, the football gods may be righting a wrong from the previous play.
And a testament to, we talked about for NC State, linebackers coming up and hitting. This is Jet Johnson coming in late here in the play. Watch 44 Maroon get a shot right on the ball. As Knight's doing right here, he's trying to twist and turn, but doesn't hold on to the ball in traffic. Leaves it loose like that, and when these hats rallying to the ball, was talking with my dad pregame, was on the radio call tonight, said this Mississippi State defense like a bucket of minnows, and that time they looked like a bucket of sharks.
Jalen Green recovered the fumble. He had an interception earlier. And Mississippi State starts at its own 46. Woody Marks tackled for a loss. I was wondering there if maybe the Bulldogs come out, take a shot, off sudden change. They elect to go to the ground game. It hasn't really produced much today. 8 carries, 13 yards as a team.
It's just about making you think. It's just like the running back swing passes. They got to those Will Rogers shots down the field because you were able to make them honor it just enough, especially at the linebacker level.
Rogers throws, Austin Williams wide open. Inside the 25, pushed out by Engel. And there's the shot.
And this is built off another one of those short plays. They fake the wide receiver screen to that formation. You see Will Rogers pump out towards the sideline. Right here, you'll see the receiver stop, and then they send the 2 guys that would walk up like blockers down the field on go routes. And now you get a wide open shot for Will Rogers. A great call, taking advantage of the short action.
And a flag down.
Offense. 12 players were on the field. 5-yard penalty, first down.
This has been the ebb and flow for Mississippi State. Great play, holding call. Great play, illegal substitution. And now they're down near the red zone here. So they're going to have a chance to erase this mistake, but you've got to stop shooting yourself in the foot if you want to keep NC State out of this game.
Mississippi State has led throughout, not like last week when the Bulldogs trailed by 20 and roared back in that fourth quarter. Rogers has time, clean pocket. There's Marks, his 7th catch, and drilled back at the original line of scrimmage. 2nd and 10 upcoming.
And again, you've got all this respect on the perimeter here. Won't be surprised when we see Jaden Wally, number 11, or maybe Jameer Calvin, number 6, coming across the middle of the field from left to right, from right to left. Again, that Y cross, such a huge staple of the air raid. And when you've got as much attention now on the outside for what you've done on this drive, that middle of the field can start to open up if you get another 2 safety look here.
Dylan Johnson replaces Marks in the backfield. 2nd and 10. Johnson up the gut inside the 15-yard line. 3rd down coming up. Daniel Joseph with the stop.
Still surprised we haven't seen a wide receiver screen for Mississippi State tonight. 3rd and short right here, again, with a coach who loves to gamble. Could be a great spot to try and pop someone loose for a walk-in touchdown, as NC State's love to get aggressive as we get closer and closer down here and those windows start to shrink.
Last week, Mississippi State 5 trips in the red zone, 5 touchdowns. 1 for 1 tonight with a touchdown. Rogers underneath. There's that sit route for a first down. A gain of about 5. And it's Austin Williams.
We talked about they led FBS football in just over 50 attempts a game last year. It turns into a ball control offense. Time of possession is not something you'd think of for an air raid school, but this is how they want to live. Slowly, death by 1,000 cuts.
Rogers has Jameer Calvin. Rather, that's Tulu Griffin.
And this is the area you saw it on that last play. Those crossing routes in the middle of the field start to become an option here. Try and spring a guy loose if you've got man, but you've seen these receivers very comfortable starting to see these zone holes in NC State's defense.
Wally Williams and Polk bunch to the right. Rogers looks that way, looks off, has a running lane, now throws it into the end zone, touchdown! Welcome to Wally World. Nolan McCord, not Brandon Reeves, hits the PAT.
It all starts with the quarterback all the time in the world on the three-man rush, keeps his eyes downfield, and makes them pay off the turnover.
Dave Doran hears the cacophony of cowbells, and his team stares now at a 3-score deficit on the road here in Starkville, 21-3, as Mississippi State gets ready to kick off. Scott Goodman will kick it off to Bam Knight. Well, last week was a nightmarish start to the season for the ACC. Week 1 saw 6 teams in the conference go down. Duke fell to Charlotte. Miami obliterated at the hands of Alabama. Georgia Tech fell to NIU. NC State was a winner against USF. Syracuse lost today to Rutgers. Clemson didn't score a touchdown against Georgia. Notre Dame detonated Florida State's field good story. And then you saw Louisville go down against Ole Miss. Week 2's been better, especially with Pitt beating Tennessee. But if NC State were to lose tonight, the 4 teams picked at the top of their respective divisions in the ACC would all have a loss by the end of week 2 as Thayer Thomas hauls it in at the 40 for a first down.
And Anish, you've already seen the effect of that in the sky is falling conversations around Clemson's college football playoff chances. They get a little bit of relief today with the Ohio State loss, now giving who many predict to be the Big Ten champion 1 loss on the resume. But we saw that trickle-down effect. These out-of-conference matchups matter, especially when we've got them again for the College Football Playoff Committee.
It's a long season, and that is the caveat, as Person got the call. But these early season non-conference tilts shape conference perception, and look at what's shaping up right now. Mississippi State was picked to finish last in the SEC West. NC State picked to finish behind Clemson in the Atlantic.
And this was something we didn't get last year. Heather Dinich, who does a great job covering the playoff for us, and that selection committee knows they were looking for these resume points, these data points again in 2021. As we get another catch here by Devin Carter. Very close to a first down, and it looks like he's got it.
Devin Leary pumps. Now he's flushed. gets away. Hit as he throws it.
Anish, Devin Leary.
Hold on, the ruling on the field is a fumble. Sorry, Mike. NC State does recover. And now they can look at that to see.
The ruling on the field
That's
of
an
the fumble
incomplete.
recovered by the offense. The previous play is under further review.
So they'll see fumble or incomplete. Was the arm going forward is what we're checking.
Yep, and was the hand in the ball as the arm's going forward here? If you see that empty hand going towards the ball, we're going to let them look at that. Take a step aside here. We'll look at it on the other side when we come back.
Thank you. More worry for the ACC. App State, a couple of years ago, knocked off South Carolina and North Carolina. Play was reviewed. Call was confirmed. It was a fumble. So that settles all of 1 yard. Instead of 2nd and 10 and an incomplete pass, it's a fumble and 2nd and 11.
And the coaching point is still the same. We've got to see Devin Leary get the ball out of his hand quicker in those spots.
Leary played in 4 games last year, then broke his leg against Duke. Screen pass, nearly intercepted. Tyrus Sweet, who had a pick last week, almost had another.
Just a great job reading the release by the running back. DC doesn't buy into the offensive lineman letting him go past, doesn't sell enough on the screen up front.
Has NC State been too predictable offensively tonight?
Absolutely. It's been all run to the left here. It's been everything short. This has not been a unit that's been able to get Mississippi State off balance at all up front.
Bulldogs showing pressure. The rush 5. Leary gets away, heaves it downfield, incomplete. Jalen Green was in the backfield, a safety blitz. He's got a pick and a fumble recovery today. And this Mississippi State defense has been a big story tonight.
They've been a huge story. Zach Arnett's unit has done just the opposite. They've managed to get Devin Leary off balance here. We were talking to these coaches and said, you know, it's hard for a coordinator to get another coordinator off balance or off rhythm. But you can get an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. And for Devin Leary, who, again, been here for a bit but only started now 5 games, these are still things he can be seeing for the first time.
Wally to field the punt. And we get a whistle.
Delay a game, offense. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
You go back to last week talking about this Mississippi State defense. Big plays were really the culprit. Gave up a 72-yard touchdown pass, a 59-yard touchdown run, a 24-yard TD pass. All the scoring drives for Louisiana Tech on drives of 3 plays or less, the ones that led to touchdowns. Wally from his own 18. A nice return up to the 29. Extra Yard for Teachers Week is an annual effort led by the College Football Playoff Foundation that brings college sports together to support and honor great teachers across the country at games and on social media. To learn more about Extra Yard for Teachers, follow @CFP Extra Yard. And Mike Leach is a teacher. He was a surprise participant in a Zoom meeting for the faculty at Henderson Ward Stewart Elementary School during Teacher Appreciation Week.
Guy who's taught a few classes himself.
He has. Insurgent warfare and football strategy at Wazoo. Over the middle, that's Jameer Calvin, who played for Leach at Wazoo. Now there's Mike Leach on the Zoom call. Now, He was a substitute teacher in LA to help pay for law school while he was attending Pepperdine, continued to teach at junior colleges, and this is for the Mississippi State folks. He was telling us he is in talks to potentially teach a class here in Starkville in the spring, similar to the one that he taught at Wazoo.
Seems like every Mike Leach press conference is him auditioning to try and show kids, hey, when you're getting ready to sign up for those classes, this could be your future.
And we get a whistle and a flag.
False start, offense, number 69. 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's Johnson, the right guard. Remember when Mike Leach was thinking about his class at Washington State, he put out a tweet, hey, is there any interest? And the overwhelming response was yes, which I would expect the same response here at Mississippi State.
Manifesting on Twitter, it's all the rage these days, and it seems to work out well. Follow your dreams, kids. Tweet that tweet.
Hard class to get into, though. 1st and 15 now after the penalty. There's the screen. That's Jameer Calvin. 2nd and 9 coming up. Calvin, 3 catches and a touchdown last week.
And we've seen on this drive, the penalty certainly not helping Mississippi State, but the run action, the play fakes, been sucking up the linebackers for NC State, and that was the charge for Tony Gibson in this defense. We know this group wants to be aggressive and downhill, but you've got to pick your time before you go ahead and shoot those gaps.
And no Peyton Wilson out there for NC State, the ACC's top tackler last year. Left the game, had x-rays on his shoulder. Incomplete for ducking, and it's 3rd down. Taylor.
Peyton Wilson down here on the sideline. He is out for the rest of the game with ice pack on his left shoulder, but he's still a huge part of this defense. You can hear him being a vocal leader. He's in the linebacking group here when they're on the sideline, encouraging them and telling them we still have time.
Well, we saw it from Mississippi State just a week ago, down 20 in the 4th quarter. They rally back to win.
So they know better than anyone that this game is not over, and that's got to be the message that you learned last week on the sideline right now.
On 3rd down, Rodgers to the air. Completes. And Johnson tripped up about 1.5 yards shy of the line to gain. I know Mike Leach is a gambler near midfield, 18-point lead. 4th down. Now this may be one where he rolls the dice.
Pushing the pedal right here. Running back pass options have been great for them in short yardage.
And a timeout by Mississippi State.
Timeout. Mississippi State, their first timeout of the half.
A big 4th and 1 from near midfield for the Bulldogs. Kevin, thank you. 4th and 1, Mississippi State. They've had issues in the punting game today. Their defense has gotten better as this game has gone along. And now, what are they doing here? It looks like the offense will run out. Still plenty of time on the play clock. And now the punting team comes on, so Tucker Day will come on.
And now you remove a return opportunity because you've got the safe defense out there having to adjust on the fly.
Fair catch is called for and made inside the 10-yard line. NC State did have the return man, Thayer Thomas, and maybe the tell there was what we saw during the commercial break. 2 separate huddles on the Mississippi State sideline. One the offense, one the punt team, and Mike Leach decides to get a little sneaky.
Always got to do it his own way. Would you probably have had the punt safe team out there, meaning you keep the defensive starters up front, you're worried about a fake, you're worried about them going for it? Absolutely. Is this way more fun to watch? You betcha.
Sinatra did it his way too. It worked for him. Ricky Person starts in the backfield. How does NC State get going offensively again?
I think you've got to feed those backs on the ground. Let them get comfortable again. A couple of balls on the mat. You can't go away from it, though.
The last drive was promising before the fumble. Devin Leary downfield has a man wide open, incomplete. Anthony Smith was all alone. If he hits him, it's a 91-yard touchdown.
Football's a complicated game, but it's really simple when it comes right down to it, Anish. Mississippi State has capitalized on their shot plays. When they've had guys down the field open, Will Rogers has made the throws, and Devin Leary has come up just short on these.
Mississippi State was burned by the big play last week. Nearly happened again, and now contact along the line of scrimmage.
A lot of pointing. A lot of pointing.
False start, offense, number 54. Half the distance is goal penalty, second down.
You played O-line, so when you know it's on you and you point, is there a sense of shame or guilt on your end?
Oh yeah, you're trying to cover up for your own mistake there. The worst is when you fall backwards and you can feel it coming. This one right here, he had more of a legitimate claim to. The defense has been inching close, trying to show those blitzes, but there's no doubt it is a cover-up in the works.
2nd and 14. Larry's got to get rid of it. He does. It's Person. And out of bounds is some breathing room for NC State, but it sets up a big third down here. You don't convert, Mississippi State likely starts with a short field.
And unfortunately, you're forced to go deep again now. You're forced to get these receivers down the field, which is an area that he has struggled.
Incomplete for Thomas. Covered by Green. And the Wolfpack will punt it away from deep in their own zone.
It's been tough, Anish. NC State hasn't really been able to find a receiver that can get open consistently against this coverage. Mississippi State's defensive backs that we knew were the strength of this team have been shining in this matchup all night.
Austin Williams waiting at his own 45. And the punt by Gill. Williams from the 42. Taken down at the 45-yard line. Well, our booth is right next to the Learfield radio booth, and father and son. I've got Mike Golick Jr., Kate Scott, the wonderful play-by-play announcer for Learfield, has your dad.
And you can't even get him to shut up long enough to actually enjoy this moment right near. He's bagging on, gas bagging over there about God knows what. Hi, Dad. I made him pay for dinner last night still. Old habits die hard.
I like how you threw your weight around in our coaches meeting yesterday when radio wanted to sit in.
I told him, if you open your mouth, I'm going to have to hurt you in this room. He didn't listen. He never does.
Woody Marks crashes the middle for a gain of a yard. I'll watch the facial expressions here. So this is our team meeting with NC State. Seniors trying to get a question in, and your reaction and expression, priceless. What are you doing, Dad?
31 years of this, Dad. You can't just let me have one meeting. Look at him go here. Him and Dave Dorn bonding over their defensive tendencies here. It's a lot to take in.
Rogers has Wally. In all seriousness, though, nice family moment for you. Real hero is Mom, who's got to be the mediator, right?
Mom listened to the first half on radio. She's watching the second half on TV. She's not new to this. She's true to this. And so we've done a couple of games together before. Nice to get to do it side by side here. Of course, I found him at halftime sneaking up doubles on ice cream.
He was taunting us, saying they were going to get po' boys in the booth. On 1st and 10. Another strong run by Marks. Gets a couple, and that clock continues to run. Another scoring opportunity inside the 40 for Mississippi State. Less than 2 minutes to go here in the third. NC State defensively without one of its best players in Peyton Wilson, out for the game, ice on his shoulder.
We talked about it, the communication that you need to go in against this offense, especially on the second level. You can't overstate that. And so now you take one of those chains out of the link, and it becomes a little bit tougher for everyone involved. Drake Thomas, Isaiah Moore having to carry more.
On 2nd and 8, Rogers slings it over the middle, nearly intercepted. A little behind Wally. Kevin.
Anish, Arkansas is dominating Texas right now. Raheem Sanders. Acho, this is bonkers.
Yeah, what a run, first of all, by Raheem Sanders. But yes, Texas is on upset alert, down 33-7, going into the 4th quarter.
Matchup of old conference foes, Anish, soon to be conference foes again.
Taylor McGregor, Arkansas alum, on the sideline. Thoughts?
This is awesome. I, as a student, never got to see Arkansas face Texas, but of course I always heard about the Southwest Conference and how big of a rivalry they were, so it's pretty cool to see it come to fruition.
Off the hands of Ra Thomas, the freshman. Taylor was bullish on an upset as we get a flag.
Was really hoping someone was going to give us an
After
Arkansas.
The play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense, number 69, 15-yard penalty. The down counts, 4th down.
Yeah, and that's a backbreaker. You were right there on the cusp of a long field goal potentially. And you get the sense NC State will need some kind of a spark here, either from its defense or special teams.
Let's look for the late hit at the end right here. There must have been a finish after that, because that would not have been nearly enough for a call. But again, another one of those spots, they haven't been burned by these penalties much. You've seen them be able to overcome a lot of them, but here, too critical of a spot here, and it looks like the penalty declined again this time. Going to bring out the punt team.
And this is a spot, too, unless there's a game-changing special teams play. NC State likely starts deep in their own zone. And really, since the 1st quarter, they've struggled to move the ball. This one takes a Wolfpack bounce, and they'll start at the 25-yard line. Are you ready for Monday Night Football? The 52nd season kicks off in a few days. Lamar and the Ravens in Vegas to take on Derek Carr and the Raiders. Lamar may have to run it 20 times. The Ravens running room just decimated in the last 2 weeks. J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, all out with season-ending injuries. They go get Latavius Murray. We may see Le'Veon Bell.
I would say the running back room needs name tags, but they've got 3 former 1,000-yard rushers when you throw Devonta Freeman in there as well. So well familiar with these names. Need the production.
Bam Knight gets the call on 1st down and does not get very far. It's almost becoming choreographed now. When NC State runs, Mississippi State knows it's going left.
And NC State loves the idea of being able to run in the obvious spots here, but at some point you've got to mix in misdirection.
Now this time they try to go the other way, and they chose poorly. Well, you talked earlier about the counter coming back to this offense. The run game after almost 300 yards in week 1, non-existent really today.
And this offense doesn't know how to function without it now. 3rd and long again. And we've seen them dump it off to the running back. The offensive line's got to be able to protect for longer, because Mississippi State's been getting pressure on Devin Leary, and that's when he's been making poor decisions, putting the ball in harm's way.
Larry to the air. He's got a Messi stopped in his tracks. Emmanuel Forbes, the freshman All-American a season ago. And the Bulldogs take an 18-point lead to the fourth quarter. How would NC State answer the cowbell on the road? Could Mississippi State build on its fourth quarter from last week? So far, this one in favor of the Bulldogs through 3. From Starkville, Mississippi, it's the SEC on ESPN. The SEC flexing in the first 2 weeks of the season. The Bulldogs with an 18-point lead on NC State. 4th and 5, Trenton Gill to punt for the Wolfpack. And this is a good kick, but it lands out of bounds. NC State in that first quarter was able to move the ball. They just could not finish drives. An interception in the end zone, a missed field goal. But really, since that first quarter, Mississippi State defensively has made plays in space. We haven't seen many deep balls. We haven't seen many explosive plays. The numbers bear it out.
And Anise, sometimes when things don't work out for you early, as a play caller, as a human being, it's easy to get deterred. We always knew as an offensive line, if we shut down a team's designer blitz the first time, we'd never see it again. And when you saw that trick play, that pop pass down in the low red zone, it might have taken some of the wind out of this NC State offensive sails.
Will Rogers, the second-year quarterback, moving the pocket, had time. And he's got Dylan Johnson, who hammerheads all the way to the 39 of NC State.
Big night for the Mississippi State offensive line. You're only getting a 3-man rush, and so you're doing exactly what you need to do. Give your quarterback time to keep his eyes down the field and keep him clean. They shouldn't get home, and they aren't right now. But this is big development for a group that's got to absorb a lot of change playing in this air raid.
I remember this was a Mississippi State team last year that offensively inconsistent, but did surprise some people with how good they were defensively at times. Tulu Griffin, who opened this game with a 100-yard kick return touchdown, moves the chains.
And they're taking advantage, making this linebacker group run right now. We know NC State wants to come down and make hits, but they're off balance. They've got to account for too much because this Mississippi State offense has hit in every spot of the field. The heat map would be all over the place right now.
Now, that was what the NC State coaches said when you watch Mississippi State. Anything at any time is possible on both sides of the ball. Safety blitz. And somebody's helmet came off. Charles Cross, the left tackle, lost his helmet, so he'll have to come out for a play.
Charles Cross, the former 5-star recruit. You watch big C.J. Clark, the nose guard right here. You've got a corner blitz coming from that side, works across the center's face, makes an unbelievable play up front. Negative yardage plays. This defense has got to start to stack some of these up playing downhill again.
Another 3-man rush. Rogers checks down again. Dylan Johnson muscles his way to the 15-yard line. First down, Bulldogs. Another catch for Johnson. His 6th.
This is what we talked about as we see an NC State player down on the field right now.
It's C.J. Clark, the nose tackle. Will step aside. Bulldogs on the move. 1st and 10 from the Wolfpack 14.
invigorated?
Well, first off, the guys on the field have to start by making plays. That's what's going to incite this group. But we talked about having an older team. Those voices have to start to show up, your leaders on that sideline.
And now pressure. Rogers floats one into the end zone. Incomplete coverage by Derek Pitts. Will Rogers basically has grown up in the air raid offense. His dad, a high school football coach in Mississippi. He's been running the air raid since he was 7 years old. They've been watching Mike Leach film from Leach's days in Lubbock and the Palouse.
And Mike Leach mentioned that ability, watching film. He said a lot of guys watch film because they think they have to. He watches film with a purpose. He understands what he's looking for as a coach's son.
Rogers over the middle, too high for Polk. And that was Engel again, lowering the shoulder. Polk is slow to get up. Every time Tanner Engel is involved in one of those plays, NC State gets antsy on the sideline, ejected 3 times for targeting last year. That looked clean at first glance. It is a defenseless player, but he gets him below the shoulders.
Nothing in the head or neck area, no lowering the crown of the helmet, none of the indicators that you would normally see of targeting in that spot.
And he turned, so you can see he was trying to avoid that head-on collision, but Polk is down. Cal transfer, 4 catches today, 10 catches in the opener. Let's check in quickly with Kevin.
And Mackenzie Milton got the start for Florida State against Jacksonville State. Acho, how about this dart right here?
Yeah, what a story, Mackenzie Milton.
Wyatt Rector hauls it in. It's 14-7 at the half on the ACC network.
Now Florida State, even in a defeat last week to Notre Dame, a lot of goodwill came out of that game. Not just Mackenzie Milton, the feel-good story of the year, but the progress Mike Norvell has made in year 2.
Absolutely. That defense was flying around fast, playing upfield, and just looked confident. Something that in year 1, with all the offseason consternation, maybe wasn't there with that squad.
On 3rd down, Rogers to the air. Rolling to his right. There's a flag down. And that's coming back. That's a hold. We'll see if NC State accepts the penalty. I think you have to here to push this field goal further back.
100%. You don't want to give them a chance for easy points right here. Push them back, see if your defense can make another splash play behind the line of scrimmage, maybe take him even further.
Holding, offense, number 78. Penalties decline. 4th down.
Earlier in this game, NC State declined a holding penalty. Mississippi State went for it, converted on 4th and 7 instead of a 3rd and 17. That ended up being a scoring drive.
And that one was at least more defensible, maybe 10, 15 yards behind where they are now. This clearly in field goal range here.
Unless the thinking is it's a 3-score game either way. Nolan McCord will attempt the field goal. So Brandon Reeves came in as the starter. McCord attempted the last PAT and now attempting this field goal. Redshirt freshman from Georgia. And his kick up and good. It remains a 3-score game. 12:30 to go. Last week, Mississippi State rallied from 20 down in the 4th quarter. Can the Wolfpack stage a comeback on the road, down 21?
ESPN College Football Primetime is presented by Sonos. Experience game-changing sound made easy.
NC State tried its best to simulate this road environment all week in practice. Cowbells while the quarterbacks were taking snaps, while they were taking their written exams. You can't quite simulate Davis Wade on a Saturday night.
It has been rocking The crowd won't stop believing. And they saw what you can do rallying from a deficit last week. Let's see if Zonovan Knight can get them started here with a big return. Had a 100-yard kickoff turn for a touchdown last year against Miami.
And he won't get a chance. All right, offensively, NC State's been running in quicksand now since the second quarter. How do they get explosive plays? How do they still give themselves a chance in this game?
Yeah, well, now you can abandon balance. Down 3 scores here. You can fully turn it loose, which should settle Devin Leary down. I feel like some of the issue with him has been overanalyzing, overthinking. Now you just got to put him in spots. Let the quick passing game be your run game here and cut it loose again on the perimeter.
Larry, a fourth-year player, had a different offensive coordinator, a different offensive system in each of his first 3 seasons. Finally, continuity this year with Tim Beck returning as OC. Completes to Trent Penix on first down. Penix is one to watch this year for NC State. They're going to play him in that Jalen Samuels role as that hybrid switchblade.
A middle-of-the-field mismatch. Tight ends, college football, NFL have become the most important commodity in the game for that reason.
Larry is sacked. Jaden Cromedy. He tipped the field goal attempt by Louisiana Tech last week to seal the win for Mississippi State.
And Anish, what a great job getting him matched up. When you see all these bodies lined up on the line of scrimmage here, it gets the offensive line to slide away. And so what do you have? A big D-line body like Jalen Cromedy matched up on a running back here. Ricky Person tries to throw his body in the way, but it's not nearly enough.
And Larry's helmet came off. He's out of the game for a play. Ben Finley is in on 3rd and 13. Finley throwing. He's got Carter, who dropped it. And that's an interesting decision because Dave Doran could have used the timeout. And then you could have brought Larry back in on 3rd and long.
And I know you'd like to keep those for later, but man, it's getting late early here. I don't know why you don't spend that. Keep your veteran on the field. It was going to have to be 4-down territory at this point for you to put your backup quarterback in that spot at such a critical juncture here. We've talked about some of the errors here on the coaching side here, declining some of these penalties, and now that spot may stick out as much as any.
3 straight 3-and-outs for NC State. This Bulldog defense has answered the call. Outstanding punt by Gill. And Wally out of bounds across the 35. Taco Bell welcomes you to the Liv Moss Student Section of the Year contest. Use hashtag StudentSectionSauce to get the committee's attention. And go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete. Wow, it just got quiet all of a sudden. A cowbell has the same decibel level as a chainsaw. I did not know that. There's an injured NC State player on that far sideline, and this is not good. It's Isaiah Moore. Remember Peyton Wilson, the ACC's leading tackler, first-team all-conference last year, out for the game with a shoulder injury. Moore is one of the best players on this defense. He wears that #1 jersey, a point of pride for the program. It goes to the player that best represents Wolfpack football on and off the field. Taylor.
Let me tell you, Mike Leach, though, his team might be up by 21 points, but he is telling them to put the pedal to the metal. He says, you have to win this part of the ball game. He says, this is the most important part, and I need to see you guys win it.
This is still a very young Mississippi State team in a year where a lot of teams that were old last year because of the NCAA rule that granted everybody an extra year of eligibility, those teams remained old this year. So Mississippi State last year playing the freshmen, the true freshmen, those guys do have another year under their belt. But the way they won last week and what they've done tonight, you get the sense, given the opponent, you are watching not just a team but a program slowly coming of age here.
Well, and last week is exactly why Leach is so adamant right now. Because he can say to these guys, remember what we did last week on the other side. Shoe on the other foot of this situation. It's an easy transfer point that now you can say to this offense, look at their defense reeling. 2 of their leaders in that linebacking core. You've got a chance to go out here and step on their necks and end this game if you execute the way we can.
There's the shotgun split back look, which Mississippi State has gone to a ton tonight. Rogers looks off Marks, instead finds Heath. And he's up to the 46-yard line, 2nd and 2. That's where this game has been different since about the middle of the second quarter. Mississippi State has been better on first down. It sets up the rest of their drive, the rest of their series. NC State has struggled to gain traction on first down.
Mississippi State last year was 105th in the nation at yards per play at just under 5 yards. But when you throw it 50 times a game, that can add up to a lot of ball control drives for you as they put it on the mat right here.
Put it on the mat. Mark's able to recover. And it sets up 3rd down. And not to overstate it here, this feels like it's the ball game. NC State needs a stop here.
A huge 3rd down right in this spot. We've seen them exploit the running back in the short area of the field here. But I would have eyes on 85 Austin Williams. He was so dependable in these zone holes early in the game here. And this NC State defense, we've seen them. Tired, worn out, plenty of dirt all over these jerseys here. You wonder if they've got enough for one more blitz or if they're going to hang back and try and let it come to them.
Knocked down, it's incomplete. Looking for Heath. Ingle, the Tasmanian Devil, got in there. And 4th and 4, and the door still ajar for the Wolfpack.
And it's a great job by NC State's defense. We talked about all the guys they lost. Again, Tony Gibson said, Tanner Ingle, when he's on the field, is the energy guys for us. And we heard from Taylor before. That's a sideline that's beaten down right now. I've been on plenty of those, Anish. There can be that sense of, here we go again, when we're in a brutal spot, when it's not going our way.
10 players on the line of scrimmage for NC State. Punter goes down. Did not see a flag. Ball into the end zone. NC State ball at the 20-yard line. The Wolfpack nearly got Tucker Day. Nearly got flagged for it, too. 10 minutes to go in regulation. They have a big slingshot up in Boone, North Carolina. App State, the Giant Killers. NC State down 3 scores, 9:59 to go. Ball at the 20-yard line. Ricky Person, the running back. Devin Larry is going to take a shot. And it's incomplete. They wanted Anthony Smith getting some run tonight.
There hasn't been a lot in the intermediate in this NC State offense tonight. It's been all these deep Hail Mary shots, low percentage throws for them. When you're sitting up there in this offensive huddle right now, you've been beaten down for a while. The last 3 possessions have been all 3 and outs for a total of 13 yards. You just need to see something good happen. Get an easier throw for your quarterback.
And we've seen that a lot. 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9, 2nd and long. That's complete. Dylan Perrin, the tight end. That sets up 3rd down. At this point, you have to consider this 4-down territory.
But at least you're in quick game territory now. That offensive line, like you said, has been in long yardage situations for so long. Now you can jump on these D linemen, these linebackers that have been trying to raise hell in front of you the entire night.
NC State today just 3 of 14 on 3rd down. Four-man rush. Person. Denied. Emerson the tackle in space. And it's 4th down. And the offense, I think, has to stay out on the field here.
There's no question, and you've got to start throwing past the sticks in that spot. Hoping for yards after catch. This Mississippi State defense has shown you they can come up and hit. You have got to get these receivers beyond the sticks, sit them down, and say, make a tough catch and get the first.
And a timeout. Dave Doran and NC State with 2 left.
Timeout and a half.
4th and 3 for the Wolfpack, deep in their own zone. Week 1 NFL Sunday Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern with the Countdown crew. Patrick Mahomes sits down with his old Chiefs teammate Alex Smith, now part of our Countdown team, plus what could be Aaron Rodgers' final season in Green Bay. All the breaking news and stories, 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. 4th and 3, NC State from its own 27. It feels like the ball game. 5 wide, person in motion. Larry looking, high throw, it's brought in, caught by Carter. And he rumbles inside the 40-yard line of Mississippi State. And the Wolfpack still have hope with 8.5 to go in regulation.
Nails on the throw by Devin Leary, but a great job by Tim Beck. Giving him motion across, the running back coming out shows him he's got zone coverage on this play as they heat up the tempo.
Mississippi State drops 8. Person got loose from Jet Johnson, but Wheat finished him off.
And I don't know why they're slowing down. This tempo's worked well for them in the past. You're giving this Mississippi State defense time to set you up.
Precious seconds ticking off, down 3 scores. Thrown behind Carter. There's been a lot of miscommunication today with Carter and Leary. A couple of drops from Carter, too.
And these are the things you don't want to see. We've talked about year 2 in this system. Finally having an offensive coordinator for more than 1 season. If you're Devin Leary and Tim Beck, as another big 3rd down approaches.
Now, what are you looking to do here on 3rd and 7? There is a flag.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness offense, number 79. 15-yard penalty. The down count, 3rd down.
Ike Ekwonu, and that is a backbreaker for the Wolfpack. Not what you want from your all-ACC left tackle.
And it's been a much cleaner night for them on that side. These critical situations, though, your leaders up front, we talk about him. Grant Gibson, your 2-time captain. You've got to keep a level head while everyone else is struggling to stay afloat.
You may have a lot of plays for 3rd and 7. You don't have as many on 3rd and 22. Knight motions out. 5-man pressure. Larry heaves it downfield. And it's brought in by Amezi. So that time they connect down to the 11-yard line. 7:28 to go in regulation.
And now we pick up the tempo again. Try and see if you can catch Mississippi State on their heels. It was the same formula. Motion the back out, get a clear picture, and drop a dime in.
Bam Knight fights his way to the 6-yard line. 5 catches, 84 yards today for Amezi. And he is now alone in 4th place on the all-time receptions list at NC State.
And I know there's 7 minutes left, but a lot of time starting to tick off here for your team. You're on the left hash. You can get your quarterback rolling to his right hand if you want.
Thomas in motion, ball hits the ground. Larry's got to eat it. 3rd down. Flag down.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness offense, number 6. 15-yard penalty. The down count, 3rd down.
Now that's Trent Penix. And Dave Doran's look sums up the frustration on that sideline.
Talked about a veteran team. These are not supposed to be the mistakes veteran teams make. The rest of it you can correct. This is something that's a real problem. Because now again it turns into Devin Leary having to heave it down the field. There's no in between now.
Yeah, this is goal to go. Empty set. Leary's pass nearly intercepted. It's incomplete. Wanted Tootle. And now it's 4th and goal from the 21.
This seems to be where they found a comfort level. Probably going to see them motion the back out again, try and give Devin Leary information, whether it's man or zone, and then he's going to have to take a shot. Amezi has been his guy, number 86.
Now they need a touchdown or a penalty from the defense that gives them a first down. Pressure coming. Leary trying to escape, and he's sacked. It's Forbes on the corner blitz, and the Bulldog defense makes a statement again.
Forbes, Emerson, this entire defense have gotten underneath NC State's skin. This time you've got them in the boundary right here, so you can disguise it right up until the last snap, and they know Leary's going to be going for the end zone. He's got to hold on to it a longer time, and a great job of rushing to that upfield hip and just getting enough, hog-tying him around the ankles.
Our crew was talking earlier in the week, when you turn on the film from the Louisiana Tech game, Mississippi State's breakdowns defensively were singular plays. We didn't see Louisiana Tech really string together long drives against them. NC State was able to put together a couple of drives early. They couldn't score. That was another one, their best looking drive of the second half before the penalty. This is a defense that has learned how to bend and not break, and you would have to assume offensively, Mississippi State, while they haven't been great in the first 2 games, if they continue to improve, the more comfortable they get in the air raid system, by season's end, no one's going to want to play here.
They were able to defeat tempo, which is something that's hurt that defense. The kickoff return for a touchdown to start this game gives them an early lead. They weather a few of the storms and bow up in the red zone. And so now you take NC State completely away from what everything had worked, spreading the ball to the perimeter and using the speed of that offense to negate some of that defensive playmaking.
Will Rogers on the run. Throws it downfield, incomplete. Clock stops with 5:19. Arkansas hammered Texas. We've got close games in Miami and even Florida State. Kevin Connors, what do you got?
Well, at East Miami kicked a field goal to take a 2-point lead. 4th and 6 for App State. Chase Bryce. It is not to be. Slingshots in hand, but no slaying giants tonight. The Canes hang on. They get Sparty next.
A sigh of relief for the ACC, but all things considered, NC State on the verge of going down to Mississippi State. Watching Arkansas beat Texas by 3 scores. The SEC this year, it's not just Alabama, it's not just Georgia. The first few weeks in some of these non-conference games, we're seeing how strong the middle of this league is.
It's been beyond impressive. You and I were talking last week when we were calling a game in the Big 12. The SEC is, in a lot of ways, offensively become what the Big 12 once was, as we've seen defenses in that conference start to bow up. Lane Kiffin and company holding up on defense, putting up video game offensive numbers still for Ole Miss. The middle of this conference, the rising tide that we've seen that has been Alabama and Georgia, now starting to lift a lot of the rest of these ships.
Ole Miss was a team that has shown some improvement defensively, small sample size. We get a timeout with 4:30 to go.
Mississippi State. Their second timeout of the half.
Barring an NC State
timeout.
miracle, if this score holds, What's the Monday narrative surrounding the ACC?
A lot of soul searching going on here. Again, a conference that has been attacked for depth outside of Clemson here. Who's going to step up? North Carolina, I think, was the biggest thorn in the side of that through week one. But this for NC State, you're supposed to be a veteran team doing decidedly unveteran things. And we know the alliance, all of these things that have popped up as the SEC's dominance throughout college football has started to become something really bothering not just the players and coaches, but people at higher levels.
This season, All-State will celebrate every field goal and extra point made by participating universities by making a donation to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, All-State. There's a lot of football to be played, and injuries happen, personnel changes happen. There's a lot to sort out over the next few months. Right now, the SEC has to feel like it's got a real chance at getting two teams, because it's not just that the ACC has taken a hit as we get a flag.
False start, offense, number 24. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
You look at what's happening in the Pac-12. Oregon did get a marquee win. The rest of that conference has been beaten down through 2 weeks. Look at the Big 12. Oklahoma nearly upset by Tulane in week 1. Iowa State in a Big 12, Big 10 rivalry game that goes down to Iowa. Texas loses to Arkansas. So the strength of the SEC, and I guess you could say, and Iowa maybe early on, but really the strength of the SEC plays out in this early season. There's got to be a lot of optimism about how many teams they can get in the college football playoff. From the ACC side, I still think Clemson's going to get that eye test benefit with the committee, but now it feels like they've got to blow everybody out the rest of the way.
They do, but they got a lot of room to breathe when Ohio State suffered that setback today against Oregon. That is definitely going to help them. They've built up enough goodwill at this point. But again, for the conference at large, for Miami and Manny Diaz, who get a big win. That win against Sean Clark and the boys from Boone is a huge one for this program, because they know what they're about there. Miami still trying to figure that out, but the identity search continues for a lot of these ACC programs.
.422 to go after the punt. Another 5-receiver look for NC State. Larry slings one over the middle. It's caught. Porter Rooks, speedster out of Charlotte, for a first down. Following our game, we get UNLV, Arizona State. I want to make sure you get this story in. Herm Edwards spoiled a Game of Thrones episode for you, and I don't think you've forgiven him yet.
I haven't, and I don't think I ever will. And so many think of Herm Edwards for quotes like, don't press send. You play to win the game.
Jordan Houston with the catch. All right, go ahead. Tell the story. What happened?
I think of him for the quote, the bad guy's got a dragon. I come in doing morning radio with my dad one day. I haven't seen the latest episode of Game of Thrones, a season finale where a particular weapon changes hands. It's a pretty big plot deal. And I tell everyone, guys, I'm not going online. I'm not doing any of this. And Herm, up against a hard out, looks at me and goes, I got to give you one little spoiler. The bad guy's got a dragon. The White Walker's getting a dragon. Only one of the more pivotal plot elements in the history of the show. And Herm Edwards drops that one out of me. Mike drops and walks out of the studio.
He left you with that bad guy's got a dragon, and that was the sign-off.
That was it. Walked out, went to do another hit, walked back into the studio, yelled it at me again just to add insult to it one more time. I love you to death, Herm, but you know that was foul.
UNLV, Arizona State, next on ESPN2. You feel better? You got that off your chest?
I do, thank you. This felt therapeutic.
Whew. A 3rd and 4, Leary to the air. And a first down catch along that far sideline. It's a Mezzi again, closing in on 100 yards receiving. He's got a chance by the end of the season to move into the top 3 all-time in receiving yards. And the guys ahead of him, Torrey Holt and Jericho Cotchery.
esteemed company, a guy who's caught a pass in now 34 straight games here. He was one of the only consistent elements of this offense that really struggled to generate any sort of downfield presence, as we see a bit more right there. Porter Rooks with the snag that'll set them up with 1st and goal inside the 5, although feeling like much too little too late.
Yeah. Rooks from Charlotte, North Carolina. A second-year freshman. Everybody got the extra year of eligibility last year. 1st and goal. Jordan Houston is the running back. And he is stuffed. Emerson, the cornerback, got in there. So did Jet Johnson. This defense has been swarming, and this is where we've seen them step up in the red zone. Goal-to-go situations.
We talked about the coaching points from week 1 to week 2. Week 2 to 3 for Mississippi State is going to be, you were able to dominate in a lot of great situations here. We've still got to iron out the penalties. 3rd red zone trip for NC State, no points so far. And so for Mississippi State, if you can just avoid false start penalties on the defensive line here, holding penalties on offense, imagine what we can do then when the competition jumps when we get into SEC play.
With the play clock running down, we get a timeout by NC State.
NC State, their 2nd timeout of the half.
Well, now through
30-second timeout.
Mississippi State opponents have been in the red zone 5 times. No touchdowns, 2 field goals. You're ready for tomorrow, 4 Eastern. Take a little break from football to watch the U.S. Open men's final. The Joker meets Daniil Medvedev and Novak Djokovic, going for the calendar year Grand Slam. One the Australian, the French, Wimbledon, looking to win the U.S. Open. Last man to do it, Rod Laver in 1969. Last person to do it, Steffi Graf in 1988. And how about this, the major titles all time? Federer has 20, Nadal's got 20, Djokovic has 20. So if he wins this major, he would have the most majors of any man in singles competition.
You mentioned the golden age we've been in for men's tennis. Federer felt like for so long he was the unapproachable standard. We've just seen Joker over time chase him down now, sort of like the Terminator, walking him down from distance.
Emma Raducanu won the women's singles title today. End zone throw is incomplete. 3rd and goal, looking for Thomas. NC State gets Furman next week, and then a home game with Clemson. It's a schedule that includes a road trip to Miami, to Florida State, also North Carolina. Mississippi State on the road at Memphis next week. Thayer Thomas makes the catch, and with 1:06 to go, the Wolfpack get their 1st touchdown of the game.
Went right back to the last play where they just barely overthrew Thayer Thomas. See him working from the inside here. You've got man coverage all over the board, so you get him matched up against Sean Preston, who plays that dog role, that nickel. You like that for your wideout, exploit the space there. But again, these are all things for this team that struggle to generate any sort of consistent passing attack. That you credit them for finishing, but.
And Preston is the backup at that dog position to Fred Peters. For those of you looking to catch UNLV Arizona State, the start of that game will be on ESPN News. We will join it in progress once we're done here. Got about 66 seconds to go. Arizona State, 6 rushing touchdowns in week 1. The last time they played, the only other time they played is September 13, 2008. Arizona State ranked 15th in the country, heavily favored. UNLV unranked. 4th quarter, ASU up 7, 18 seconds to go. Philip Payne, the spectacular catch, and then the kick blocked. UNLV wins it 23-20. Vegas Onside kick attempts likely coming here from Dunn, and the timeout for Mississippi State. They use their final timeout. Mississippi State in Mike Leach's second season. Now trying to build. You really don't envy any coach who had to take over last year. No offseason. You had COVID. You're doing a lot of your meetings in Zoom. It's hard to build team chemistry. This is a Bulldogs program, though. When we tried to talk to them about that, they said, well, everyone was dealing with that. It's a no excuses mantra.
That's very much set from the top down with Mike Leach. And people hear about the air raid, this 3-day install, where it doesn't take long to get the bones of this down, but it's starting to flesh out the tissue that really takes time, and we've seen some benefit there.
Kevin.
An issue set at UNLV Arizona State underway right now over on ESPN News. Rashad White, Diamante Traynham, a couple of rushing touchdowns each last week for the Sun Devils in the win over Southern Utah. UNLV Arizona State on ESPN News, and next here on ESPN2.
This is a loose ball. NC State says they have it, and they do.
Let me tell you what, you can't execute an onside kick much better than that. I give kickers a lot of grief for being down over on their own separate field a lot of times, but that practice clearly paying off there.
Emmanuel Forbes could not field it clean. And Delbert Mims III able to recover it. And it kind of squirts through 3 Mississippi State players, and NC State recovers. 1:03 to go. The Wolfpack have 1 timeout left. They'll start just inside midfield. Larry, quick throw, and that's another drop by Carter. That's his 3rd of the game.
For NC State, going back to the drawing board after the game, it's going to be about doing the little things right here. They were inconsistent early, failed to capitalize in so many of those opportunities when your offense was humming. And then in Anish, we talked about the downside of that live by the sword, die by it trick play at the beginning of this game. I think it took away a lot of what they were willing to do creatively on offense.
Person motions out. Larry is sacked. Randy Charlton, the UCF transfer. And no timeout by NC State. Larry steps up, eluding the pursuit. And his pass batted down. Cameron Young, that defensive line making plays in the end of the game.
We called all 3 of their names tonight. Randy Charlton, Cameron Young, Jaden Carmody. They have found ways to make plays behind the line of scrimmage, and when they can't get their hands up and affect the passing game in a number of different spots here. That's a group that really stood out today big time for this unit.
4th and 14. Bulldogs drop 8. Leary heaves it downfield, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Fred Peters, the leader on that defense. I told you, NC State actually threw the ball more tonight than Mississippi State.
Wow. And that right there can tell you the source of all their problems. Not in that, because we know bulk rushing stats, 100-yard rushers winning games. It's a misnomer. It tells you about the game flow. And for NC State, a team whose strength is there, it tells you that because of special teams early, because of their failure to capitalize in the red zone, they got taken out of what they wanted to do, and Mississippi State got to live exactly where they wanted to.
Now the Bulldogs took away the run game, holding NC State to just 42 yards on 26 carries. A week ago, the Wolfpack ran for 293.
And this Wolfpack team's got to pick each other up at this point. You saw the penalties at the end of the game. This is still a veteran-laden squad who's got to go back to work with Dave Doran and salvage this season. This can't send them into a spiral.
Another big marquee non-conference win for the SEC. Mike Leach and his Bulldogs led from start to finish. They improved to 2-0. UNLV, Arizona State is next.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the Southeastern Conference.